hang on. So Keith, perhaps could you describe the history of this? Is it that land down there as well?
Well, that land's owned by the same developers, but they haven't actually applied for planning permission on it as yet. So they're dealing with it in two separate lots. We suspect because of the number of houses and then the obligation to put social housing in. But the land was owned by the Treasury solicitor for a very long time, because the original company that built the houses here in the 60s went bankrupt, so the land reverted to the Treasury solicitor. In about 2006 the land was sold, although none of the local people knew that. And then there was a planning permission sought to a certificate of lawfulness to allow the old planning permission from the 60s to be continued, and that was agreed by the council. And subsequently, in about 2009 it was 2008, sorry, the planners had an application for this building of semi-detached houses here, and it was in January 2009 that we heard about this village.
And it is used by lots of people as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's particularly used by dog walkers, but you can see at the moment now there's a fantastic amount of blackberries up there which no one's harvesting because it's now been fenced off. It was an annual sight here to see people coming down on a Sunday morning picking their blackberries. We used to do it. I've got a lovely Bramley apple tree in the garden, and that made a lovely crumble with the blackberries, but that's not happening obviously because it's fenced off. The land's used for tobogganing. It's been used by families for a variety of uses, but I'd say the main ones have been people walking their dogs and just sometimes just enjoying the open space in what is beginning to be a fairly infill area of the town.
Yes, they do like their dense housing, it's true. So what was the objections that you raised at the meeting that resulted in the planning permission when they gave the outline planning permission? What happened?
Well, when we asked for, when the outline plan permission, the certificate of lawfulness basically went through, although at that point we objected, but in the end it was felt by the council that we had no grounds there. When the application went in to convert that to 14 semi-detached houses, that eventually was heard at the council meeting, planning meeting, but the decision was deferred because of the worries about the subsidence on the land and whether or not there was sufficient piling, etc., to ensure that the new houses would actually be stable. So at the moment the actual planning permission is deferred, and I suspect that the planners won't, the developers won't do anything until they hear the outcome of the Village Green application, because if the Village Green application is upheld, then all this fencing will have to come down, the land will need to be reinstated to as it was, and it will then be a piece of common land in perpetuity.
Do you think they'll ever restore this to a notable verge with
Well, I hope it will. They're still there. They've grown up this year in lesser numbers, but they were cut down in their prime, as it were. But we think it will revert back, and that will be part of our plans of this area to ensure that this area remains as a little wildlife sanctuary. It's a bit of a corridor into the woods over the other side of the road there for wildlife, and then the rest of it we would probably want to maintain it as it is. As just a piece of fairly rough grassland that's easily accessible, and local people can walk their dogs, come and sit on it, and do whatever they want.
You get children playing football and all sorts. And
yeah,
yes.
It's a football. I used to play rugby on here with my son, which was more in terms of passing it, because due to the slope you can see the balls would tend to go down there towards the road. But it's certainly been used. I've flown kites here, so it's actually a windy little valley you can see from the movie. It's nearly always windy here. But it's just an open piece of land that the community has used and will be lost, and it's part of it is that fight to maintain some green space where there are plans all around us for filling in open bits of green land. This remains the last piece of commonly accessible grassland in the area.